Oh, hi! It looks like you caught me right in the middle of my completely unscripted playing session of Pokemon, uh, Sliver. Since we're on the topic of games, let's talk about Pokemon games. Pokemon games that should exist, but don't for some evil, unjustifiable reason. It kind of astounds me that some of these games haven't already been made. You would think that after being so critically acclaimed and or selling so well, Nintendo would have no choice but to add on to a particular series. But no. No Hey You Pikachu 2 for you. Holy tongue twister, Batman. So without any further delay, I present my list of Pokemon games that are just so darn good that they have rightfully earned a remake or sequel in my book. And I hate to disappoint, but disclaimer, Hey You Pikachu isn't on this list. I know.
Number 5, Pokemon Stadium. Pokemon Stadium is a game that took everything we loved about the 2D Game Boy version of Pokemon, excluding the RPG elements, and brought it to the Nintendo 64 in eye-popping 3D. Which is better? It makes the game POP! Being void of all previous Pokemon RPG elements, Stadium was essentially just a battle simulator, but an absurdly fun one. It was insanely competitive, and if you're like me, you nearly murdered your friends while playing this with them due to competitiveness. Don't even get me started on those minigames. Those things were almost as rage-inducing as the Mario Party series. But again, this was all in good fun. I'd like to see this game make a comeback as Pokemon Stadium 3, since we haven't seen a sequel to the beloved series in what seems like eons. Due to advancements in technology, transferring Pokemon would be easy this time around, as it could be done wirelessly via 3DS without much hassle at all. An alternate method of this could be the incorporation of customizing your team from scratch, distributing their effort values and moves to that of your liking. You know, kinda like Pokemon Showdown, only licensed by Nintendo and in glorious high definition. A lot may argue that Pokemon Battle Revolution was technically an adaptation of Stadium, but to that, I say nay. Battle Revolution wasn't at all bad, it just wasn't the game to deliver the kind of charisma that Stadium had to offer us in the first place. Plus, those minigames simply have to make a comeback. Imagine the fun to be had using the Wii's hardware. Imagine the Pokemon that could be used. Imagine the faces that'll bleed when you rage after losing to your buddies. It's just fun. Let's recapture that fun. Number 4, Pokemon Conquest. This is a game that practically ditched the entire traditional playstyle of Pokemon and went off on its own questionable path. I, for one, had my skepticisms after watching the first trailer, and most of you did too. Ultimately though, this game overwhelmed me with its ability to be addictive, and well, f***ing awesome, dude. Conquest was still a turn-based RPG, but in this game, the strategy went more into where to position your Pokemon. It's kinda like checkers, no, that's a stupid example. Well, you get the idea. It hasn't been too long since this game's release, which kinda leads me to believe that a sequel might actually already be in the works. But, if it's not, hear my prayers, Nintendo! Pokemon Conquest 2 would make a fine addition to the 3DS library. The plot of the game primarily was centralized around the concept of war, and since war is one of the most reoccurring things in the history of, ever, it shouldn't be too much of an issue to pull out another sweet story. Make it about a conflict with Russia or Kim Jong-un or something, I don't know, I'm no John Steinbeck, you write it. And now that there are more Pokemon, there can be more Warlords. The Warlords half always sold the game for me in the first place. They've got some of the sweetest designs Nintendo has ever concocted, and I'd very much like to see them work their magic once again. There are mechanics that can still be improved too. Instead of one signature move, why not give each Pokemon a few, or two at the very least? This would up the strategy levels to maximum overdrive, and would make Pokemon Conquest 2 one heck of an epic journey. Number 3, Pokemon Snap.
Look! A Pikachu! I'm gonna capture it. Good idea! Here, I think I have a Pokeball you can use. What are you doing? Shh. I'm capturing it.
Alright, so you and I both know that the concept for Pokemon Snap sounded incredibly silly. Hey, wanna battle? Nah, let's take pictures of Pokemon instead. Yeah! Wait, what? However, Nintendo did pull through and somehow managed to make Pokemon Snap one of the most entertaining games of all time. That being said, why isn't there another one? There is one. Count 'em, one Pokemon Snap game to ever be released ever. Why? This is complete blasphemy! Nintendo owns the rights to a potential goldmine of genius, but it's just being put to complete waste, lying dormant, far out of our reach. It saddens me to see this because there's just so much room for improvement and additional features. During the original game's release, there existed only 151 Pokemon. Now there are 719 and counting. Imagine the vast and wonderful landscapes to be explored in order to photograph these countless amounts of Pokemon. There'd be no end to it, and about time too, since the original Pokemon Snap was rather short. Something else that I would prefer is if they ditched the rail shooter-like gameplay and perhaps enhance the experience with first-person, free-roaming awesomeness. Step aside, Elder Scrolls, there's a new game in town and it's fully equipped with a Kodak and bushy red hair. What the heck ever happened to Todd anyways? The dude at least needs some closure, and we can give it to him in Pokemon Snap 2. Number 2, Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire. These weather-manipulating titans are way overdue for some more recognition. Generation 1 and 2 have received remakes, so, as basic math would suggest, Gen 3 is next in line. I don't even care if that means giving these games a sequel. Ruby and Sapphire 2! No, I changed my mind. Let's give them a fun little spin to their names. We could call them Rad Ruby, or Super Duper Sapphire. Yep. There you go. It's confirmed for a 2015 release by a totally reliable source. I can't wait, guys! Giving fans of the franchise a revamped Hoenn journey is just what Nintendo needs to do to please the public. The demand is high, and for good reason too. Who doesn't want to see the 3DS work its magic on this game? Imagine a graphically enhanced Mount Pyre, battle frontier, or dive mechanic. It'd all be quite stunning to look at. Most people would get a pretty hefty dose of nostalgia out of all of it too. And as far as enhanced gameplay goes, we've already received the Mega Evolutions, and a lot of the Pokemon that have them are from Generation 3. A coincidence? I think maybe. Number 1, Pokemon XD, Gale of Darkness. Pokemon Stadium was just a warm-up for the revolution of 3D Pokebattles. It was a masterpiece, but was still missing just one thing, the RPG aspects. So what did Nintendo decide to do just years later? Deliver the role-playing into what you all know today as Pokemon Colosseum. It was a full-blown RPG adventure, and one with a much darker undertone, if I might add. Putting you in the shoes of an anti-hero-like protagonist, you were granted the ability to actually steal Pokemon. Okay, this is already awesome! Next, it was one of the most graphically intense Pokemon games we've ever laid eyes upon. It also drifted away from collecting gym badges, which helped mix things up with the story in the best way possible, if you ask me. And no HMs. Oh, praise Bidoof there's no HMs. Regardless of the epicness that I've just blown your mind with, the game still had its faults. So, they made a sequel, which improved upon almost everything that was wrong with Colosseum. Almost. XD Gale of Darkness is still far from perfect. My major complaints include the limited amount of Pokemon you can obtain, and the very limited amount of wild Pokemon you can capture. And though it is true that you can catch wild Pokemon this time around, I still feel like this can be explored further. So, why not make a sequel? The folks down at Genius Sonority are, well, geniuses. They already did the unthinkable with this game, delivering a compelling story and interesting new take on the Pokemon series. If they would learn from their few mistakes and apply their skills towards a third installment that plays on the Wii U, we'd have no choice but to make this company our new god.
Thanks everyone as always for watching. Rating and subscribing is always appreciated, so if you liked what you saw, or didn't, be sure to do some button pressing down there below. Also, if you're really feeling up to it, you should watch some more of my content. Some of it's good. Kinda. That just about wraps it up for me. I've got to go give Bill Cosby a sponge bath now. So, until next time, peace out guys, I love you.